From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update. Your weekend weather update is made possible by Caltrans District 2.
Good evening, everyone. Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger here in for Chase Wilson here for this evening. Let's take a look at Kruger's Quickcast here. Just for those of you that want to know what's going to expect here for tonight and through the day tomorrow. Want to give you a quick reminder here that tonight before you go to bed or when you wake up tomorrow morning, if you don't have a clock if you have a clock that is not connected to the internet in any shape or form, you need to set it back 1 hour. We're going to be falling back. So that means the sunrise will be an hour earlier, but the sunset will also be 1 hour earlier tomorrow at about 5:02 in the valley. All right, here's our forecast for tonight. Temperatures dropping down to around 40, give or take, for the valley. 20s and 30s for the higher elevations. And I'm expecting along the coast to be somewhere in the mid-40s for those overnight lows. So out the door tomorrow morning, maybe you're going out for a morning walk, should be nice and cool out there. 40s, low 40s for the valley. As I mentioned, those 30s by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And you'll notice no rain falling from those clouds. Now, there may be a stray light flurry for places in Siskiyou and Modoc County, but overall, it's going to be a drier day across the board for tomorrow. Let's take a look at Futurecast. So here's what we have in store for us tonight. Still some activity for the North Coast, Siskiyou, Modoc County, and even into Lassen County, but it will be dry in the valley. That's what I was talking about. Maybe a stray flurry here for parts of Siskiyou, Modoc, and Lassen counties, but as you can see, it's really kind of wrapping itself up. So as we go through Sunday afternoon, we're clearing things out. We got more sunshine and those warmer temperatures through the day tomorrow. All right, so here's your forecast for your Sunday. Temperatures in the mid-60s for the valley, and looks like 40s, some 50s for the higher elevations, although in Trinity County, 60s, mid to upper 60s for the inland areas, and for the coast, we're talking temperatures in the upper 50s. For your daytime highs. All right, let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for the valley. Temperatures kind of going up and down a little bit here, but for the most part around 70 here, give or take, through next week, and of course dry conditions. Now you'll notice on Monday, for the coast, inland, and even Weaverville, a chance for a stray shower here on Monday. We'll take a closer look at that here on Futurecast in just a bit. That'll also be the case here for Siskiyou, Modoc County, but I think Lassen County should remain dry on Monday. And of course dry for the rest of next week, even into that next weekend. All right, so that's your quick cast. Let's take a look at our deeper dive forecast. You can see drier and warmer for your Sunday. Drier and warmer for next week. Gusty winds, though, at times, as early as tomorrow, but I think we'll see a bigger wind event coming in by the middle of next week. That could bring us more elevated fire weather risk, unfortunately, and a chance for rain and snow in the long range. But at this point, I'm just not seeing a lot of rain and snow in the long range. All right, so the winds, over the next 24, 48 hours, a little tricky. As you can see, by midday, they're picking up. They're around 20 miles per hour, give or take, from the north, and pretty gusty in the eastern mountains. And, you can still see some gusty winds even along the coast. So that's going to be a bit of a concern. Now, as we go into Sunday afternoon, the winds do subside, although you can see in the foothills here, still some pretty gusty winds and still a little breezy along the coast. On Monday, they're kind of up and down, but for the most part around 15 to 20 miles per hour from the northwest in the valley. That's where the winds will be strongest. You'll see elsewhere, even for the coast, the winds won't be quite as strong. So we take a look at the humidity. And I know we're in November, and a lot of times in November we start thinking, well, we're out of the fire season. Not necessarily, because take a look at the humidity levels by noon tomorrow. Remember I was talking about they have those gusty winds from the north tomorrow. You're talking about around 20%. That is low. That is dry conditions. So should a new fire start, that could be a concern. Now, Monday, you saw that the winds weren't quite as strong, but you'll notice through midday around the upper teens, and then they may elevate a little bit here going into Monday afternoon. All right, so here's a look at tonight. There's the chance for showers and snow in the higher elevations. It's not a lot. Just some isolated showers out there. It may linger into early tomorrow morning for some of us, but it is dry through the day on Sunday. All right, now let's take you into Monday. I'm going to zoom it out here because you'll see that there's a system that's going to be basically moving through southern Oregon, and it will just clip northern California. So here we are Monday around noon. You can see Siskiyou County, maybe even Modoc County seeing some of that. Del Norte, Humboldt, and Trinity County could see a slight chance for a shower. But then you can see as we go into Monday evening, it's all pretty much done with, and then we're dry through the rest of next week. In fact, you can see that here, taking a look at our long range. There's the ridge of high pressure, and that is going to be building in as we go through next week. So by around mid next week, around next Wednesday, low pressure will dive down from the south, make its way over the desert southwest. High pressure to our west. A classic setup for some gusty north winds. And you saw how the humidity will be low as we go into the next few days. So we're still going to be looking at dry conditions, which means most likely some elevated fire weather risk by the middle of next week. But as the high and low pressure system move off to the east on Thursday, Friday of next week, the winds will subside. No longer really an issue, but still staying most likely around normal for this time of the year for those highs. Now, the other thing that I'm watching here are these storm systems over the Gulf of Alaska and the Eastern Pacific in general. Now, the thing is, okay, yes, the storm door will be open. That is, that ridge of high pressure will be out of here, and that will allow these storms to at least approach and maybe bring us some rain. But the problem is, as we see this area of low pressure kind of move through, you see how it weakens as it moves eastward? This one is also weakening. So they're not very strong. So even though, say around the end of next weekend into that next week, we could be looking at the potential for maybe some wet weather in the forecast. That shouldn't be in there. This was an older model here. But what I want to show you here is Climate Prediction Center is putting us in that wetter than normal category here, but barely. And that's as we go into the end of next weekend, early next week, maybe that potential for some wet weather. It's a long ways out. Things may change and maybe change for the better, meaning maybe better chances for rain. But for now, it's not looking all that promising. And still looking at mainly warmer than normal conditions. So we look at the long range here. You see the temperatures kind of going up and down a little bit here. We'll kind of average out around 70 degrees here through at least the end of next week. The average high is around 71, so yeah, right around normal, basically starting tomorrow through the end of next week. And then we start to see our temperatures dip. This is that sign of that high pressure pretty much moving out and maybe allowing some of that rain to move in should we start to see some of that rain. All right, let's take a look at your wave heights here, taking you into your Sunday. Unfortunately, they do look to be fairly high. As we go into Monday, you'll see it retreats a little bit here, but still fairly high wave heights. So as a result, the National Weather Service has issued a small craft advisory for Sunday afternoon. Look at the winds. They're from the north at 15 to 20 knots. Waves from the northwest at 6 feet at 7 seconds, and from the northwest at 7 feet at about 10 seconds. All right, so let's take a look at our forecast here for tonight. We're talking temperatures around 40, give or take, for the valley. We saw this a little bit earlier, 20s and 30s for the higher elevations, and somewhere in the mid-40s for your overnight lows along the coast. Here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures are going to be just a tad warmer. I think we'll be dry throughout the day, and we're looking at temperatures mainly in the low 60s. All right, let's take a look at your North Coast neighborhood forecast. 59 in Blue Lake, 58 degrees for Eureka, 57 in Rio Dell, and 65 degrees in Garberville. We take you up to the north, 62 degrees for Smith River, 59 for Oric, and 65 degrees in Hoopa. Notice on Monday, I've got that slight chance, but don't count on much on Monday. If you see that chance in your 7-day forecast, pretty much anyone that should see anything will be very light, if anything at all, on Monday. So that's what we're kind of looking at when you see that. Otherwise, it'll be dry through the rest of next week, even into that next weekend. Modoc County, look for a high of about 48 degrees for Tule Lake, 46 for California Pines, and Fort Bidwell about 45 degrees. All right, here's your Sunday forecast for the eastern mountains. Maybe a stray early morning snow flurry on Sunday. Otherwise, temperatures in the 40s and even some low 50s in there for your daytime highs. And your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by our friends at Walgamuth Painting. We got those temperatures mid to upper 60s for your daytime highs. Dry conditions, 67 degrees for Redding, 66 for the city of Shasta Lake, and a little bit cooler up in some of those higher elevations with Lakehead about 61, 62 for Whiskeytown, and out in Red Bluff a high of about 66 degrees. So looking at your 7-day outlook for Redding, temperatures again going up and down a little bit here. Maybe a few clouds coming in Tuesday, that system just clipping Northern California. Otherwise, temperatures averaging out around 70 degrees through the end of the week, and even into next weekend. That is your evening update. I'll be back again tomorrow morning for your morning update, but Chase Wilson should be back and will be back by noon tomorrow and for your evening update as well. Until then, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.